In this lesson, we're going to learn how to write systems of equations with 2 variables or with 3 variables. So we've got 2 different examples we're going to do. The first one is with 2 variables. So we say a jar contains n nickels and d dimes. There are 20 coins in the jar, and the total value is $1.40. How many nickels and how many dimes are there? So what's easiest to do is first we can define our variables. So we were told that n is going to equal the number of nickels and d is going to be equal to the number of dimes. Now it's important to note that we're talking about a number of coins and not the value of the coins, because the number is going to change but the value doesn't. And so now, since we have 2 variables, we need 2 different equations. So I'm going to write 2 different colors here. So we know there are 20 coins in the jar. So my total number of nickels and my total number of dimes is equal to 20. So I'm going to write that as n plus d is equal to 20 to say the number of nickels I have plus the number of dimes I have, I know is going to have to be 20. And now my second equation, we know the total value of the coins is $1.40. So if our value is $1.40, we need to multiply the number of nickels I have by however much a nickel is, and multiply my dimes by however much a dime is. So I know that nickels are 5 cents. So I'm going to write 0.05 times the number of nickels I have, and I'm going to add it times 0.10, since dimes are 10 cents, and multiply that by every dime I have. And that should give me $1.40. So now we have this system set up, and we can just go ahead and solve this using the substitution or elimination method. I'm going to use substitution here. So I'm going to solve for n in this first equation, which means I need to take my d value and move it over. So n is going to be equal to 20 minus d. And now I can take this and plug it in for n in my other equation. So I'm going to have 0.05 times 20 minus d, and now I can add on my 0.10d is equal to 1.4. Now we just have a regular equation, so I'm going to first multiply this 0.5 times the inside here. So 0.5 times 20 will give us 1 minus 0.05d plus 0.10d is equal to 1.4. Now let's combine those like terms. So I've got negative 0.05 plus 0.1. That's going to give us 1 plus 0.05d is equal to 1.4. I'm going to scoot this up here. So we have 1 plus 0.05d is equal to 1.4. And now we can just start moving things away from the d in reverse PEMDAS order. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides to get 0.05d is equal to 1.4 minus 1 would just give me 0.4. And now I can divide both sides by 0.05 to get those to cancel. So we get d is equal to, if you do this in the calculator, 0.4 divided by 0.05 is going to give us 8. So now we know there's 8 dimes, and now we can use that to find the number of nickels. So I can plug in n plus, instead of d, I'm going to do 8. All right, this is just this equation. And that's going to be equal to 20. And so to find the number of nickels, all I have to do is subtract 8 on both sides. And n is going to be equal to 20 minus 8 gives me 12. So I'll write it up here. We have 12 nickels and 8 dimes. 12 nickels and 8 dimes. Now let's do one that has 3 variables. So I love this equation because it combines two things that I love, math and hockey. So let's give it a read. Bobby Hall scored G goals, A assists, and P points in his NHL career. By definition, his points are the sum of his goals and assists. He scored 50 more goals than he did assists. And if he scored 15 more goals and 15 more assists, he would have scored 1,200 points. How many goals, assists, and points did Bobby Hall score? And this picture right here, I actually got the chance to meet Bobby Hall when I was real young, and so he signed this picture for me. Anyway, that doesn't matter. We're here to do some math about it. So once again, we can define our variables. So this time it tells us a little bit more what we're looking for. So G is going to be equal to the number of goals he scored. A is going to be equal to the number of assists. And P is going to be equal to the number of points. And so now, since we have three variables, we need to make three different equations. So again, I'm going to underline and see what we have. So the first thing we know is that points are the sum of goals and assists. So for my first equation, I can say that P, right, the number of points he gets, is going to be equal to the number of goals plus the number of assists. And that gives me my first equation. The second equation, he scored 50 more goals than assists. Okay, so I have to think about this, and I think, which one do I need to add A to, or add 50 to? So he scored more goals than he had assists. So I'm going to add 50 to my A here, right, to get these to be equal. He scored 50 more goals, so he has more goals, so we need to add this 50 to the assists in order for these two to be equal. And now next, if he scored 15 more goals and 15 more assists, he would have had 1,200 points. Okay, so we want to get to 1,200, and we can do that by adding 15 to his goals and adding that to 15 plus his assists, since points are goals plus assists. So now we're going to solve this with matrices, which means we need to line up all of our variables. Okay, and the easiest way to do this is to get all of our variables on one side. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take my P and move it, and when I do that, I have to subtract P on the other side. So that's going to give me goals plus assists minus points is going to be equal to 0. Since I moved that P over, I've got nothing else left there. Now, I'm going to take this A to get all of my variables on one side. And so I'm going to have my goals minus my assists is going to be equal to 50, since that's the only thing I have left. Notice here I have 0 points, so when we make that matrices, we're going to have to be cautious about that. And now for my last one, I can simplify this a little bit. I can combine my like terms. 15 and 15 will give me 30. So let's rewrite this as 1,200 equals my goals plus my assists plus 30. And now I can move this 30 over and subtract it. So this last equation is going to be G plus A is equal to 1,200 minus 30 is going to give us 1170. So now let's plug this in to our matrix calculator. So now in my matrix calculator, I'm going to click New Matrix, and I need 3 rows and 4 columns. So I'm going to have this first row here be my G's, be my goals, then assists, then points, and then my number. So let's type in our coefficients. So in my first equation, I have G plus A minus P is equal to 0. So I have 1 G, I have 1 A, and I have negative 1 P, and that gives me 0. In my next row, I have 1 goal, I have negative 1 A, I have 0 points, and that's equal to 50. And in my last row, I have 1 goal, 1 assists, 0 points, and that's equal to 1,170. And now I'm going to click my RREF to get my reduced row echelon of A. And so I get 610 for his goals, I get 560 for his assists, and I get 1,170 for his points. And we can go and check this with official NHL.com. He's got 610 goals, 560 assists, and 1,170 points. Super exciting. So let's write down officially what we've got. He scored 610 goals. He had 560 assists for a total of 1,170 points. So to summarize, how can we write systems of equations when given a word problem? The first step is we want to define our variables. So we want to know how many variables are we working with, and then we can break that down and write our equations. After that, if it's 3 variables, you might have a little more work to do to line up all your variables to make it a little easier to plug it into the matrix. But from there, we're just solving like we've already learned to solve 2x2 systems and to solve 3x3 systems. Thanks for watching.